Hello, beautiful people. So today I'm gonna talk about recessions. Just that one word, it's enough to just literally stress me out and take me back to 2008, because that was the first recession that I personally experienced. And it's said that that was the worst recession since the 1930s.
Down 1.7% here, a loss of 37 points or so. Apple shares are just getting hammered this morning.
We're down by between 3 and 4.5% generally across these markets. Let's talk about the speed with which we are watching this market deteriorate. We're red everywhere, essentially, down by 4-5%.
We're down over 16%.
Major financial players declared bankruptcy, like Lehman Brothers. Others were forced into mergers or needed to be bailed out by the government.
This place looks completely deserted. There is not a single thing. Mom said this was one of the biggest grocery chains. There's some bananas. Take the meat. Okay. And here, actually, there is stuff. There's some meat available. That's it.
Imagine that. And lately, in the past 6 months, the performance of the global economy has somehow been destabilized because of the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Prices have just been going up, prices of bread because of the wheat supply, and prices of oil and gas and fuel. It's just been all going up, and it's just been crazy. I'm just here to talk about what it is and what you can expect, what sort of industries you may have to invest in, and why they just generally happen. For me, in 2008 in my country, that's when we experienced the most terrible hyperinflation that we had ever experienced. And to some extent, I'm always on the lookout.
So there is a massive transmission mechanism that transmits U.S. monetary policy to the rest of the world. 80-some-odd% of all transactions in the world are done using the U.S. dollar.
I don't want us to get to that situation again. That's when we got the title for the country with the largest banknotes. I think we had printed was it 1 trillion or it was 100 trillion? I can't remember. I'll just check. During a recession, a lot of terrible things happen. People lose their jobs. Companies declare bankruptcy. The stock market is falling. Cryptocurrency market falls. There's just so many alarming headlines that just start to pop up.
Just moments ago, U.S. economy shrinking for the second straight quarter. That means a recession is well underway.
April to June, it's the second straight quarter where the economy declined, and the latest sign that we may be headed for a recession, as some economists are now saying we're already there.
You feel a recession, it's when you're still worrying about your job.
Recession is certainly a possibility.
But however, some companies actually do thrive, and some people actually do start businesses that end up thriving so much. In 2008, that's when Airbnb was started, and now it's at a valuation of 75 billion. So can we really say that a recession is all bad, or it's now a time of opportunity if you just look through all of the rubbish? So without wasting much time, let's talk about what a recession really is, why they happen, things to really take advantage of during a recession. Now, I just want to give a quick background of how we actually got to where we are at now. With the Russia and Ukraine invasion, that sort of destabilized the whole supply chain. So it said that Russia and Ukraine region supply about 30% of the global wheat export. And because there is that ongoing invasion, they haven't been able to supply all of that, and that has sort of affected the prices for bread in so many different countries. In Zimbabwe, bread also has gone up. In other countries, bread has also gone up. Just the fuel prices in different countries has also gone up. Although there were so many sanctions placed on Russia and whatnot, it has somehow caused a lot of damage on other economies as well. It has had a ripple effect on so many other countries, more than we could have ever imagined. Now, I'll quickly define what a recession is. Just to give you guys a quick heads up, there is no official definition of what a recession is, but there is a general rule of thumb of sort of indicators that are used to sort of tell whether we are in a recession or not. And the definition is that a recession is just a business cycle contraction where the GDP of an economy has been on a decline for 2 consecutive quarters. So in short, if the GDP has been declining for the past 6 months, that is sort of like an indication enough to say we may be in a recession. Now, that's a technical definition, but it needs to be declared to say we are now in a recession, which has not yet been done. So we can't quite say we are in one, but all of the pointers or all of the indicators that would have highlighted that we are in a recession are now confirmed. So if you're someone maybe who doesn't understand what GDP means, I'll just quickly explain. So GDP just simply refers to like total monetary or the total market value of goods and services being provided in a country at a specific point in time. So let's say, for instance, when you are a customer, you go and you buy bread that was made by a certain baker for maybe $1. The moment that you exchange cash, that now contributes to the GDP of an economy. However, if that same baker does bake the same loaf of bread for their family and they do not get to exchange any money, that doesn't contribute to the GDP of a nation. Or if there are transactions that are done in the black market, those transactions are also not going to be factored into the GDP of an economy. So the GDP of an economy just simply refers to the goods and services that are done in the formal structure of what an economy is supposed to be. On to the next reasons of why these recessions do happen. A recession is a brief corrective business cycle that's just meant to happen. It's just meant to come in and correct any economic imbalances. So for instance, after COVID happened, I think we entered into like a mini recession around March 2020, and after that happened, we saw that the stock market went on a bull run. Cryptocurrency, whatever market, real estate market, they all just went up. But a recession is sort of like meant to clear out any imbalances that may have happened during that point in time, so that growth may then resume after that. And that's just what a recession is meant to do. And people like Warren Buffett, people who are heavily invested in the stock market, you would be thinking that at this point, now that the stock market is sort of like crashing, they'll be stressed out that their investments are now tanking. But no, they aren't, because they are not selling. They do not panic sell. They know and understand that the stock market always bounces back. And Warren Buffett also always says that when you see the stock market crash, it means that now you have an opportunity to buy the stocks of a good company at a very heavily discounted price. So the stock market eventually bounces back, and just take it as a time for you to now buy low, because eventually the prices are going to go high.
But there will be other crises. There's no way of knowing when you're in a situation like we were in the fall of 2008 or 9, when or precisely how it will end.
Now I'll talk about the industries that typically do well in a recession based on past assessment and past analysis of recessions. First category is the one that solves the basic needs for people. So that is the pharmaceutical industry, the healthcare industry, and also consumer goods, the basic consumer goods like groceries, food, and things that people use generally on a day-to-day basis. If you can be able to get in that type of business and also find a way to produce or sell those goods at a cheaper price, then you are in business during a time of an economic downturn. And the other broad category that tends to also do well during a recession is one that sells escapism, or in other words, coping mechanism. So generally, businesses that tend to do well to cater for people's wants, it's businesses that are in the beverage industry, like selling alcohol and also selling maybe tobacco, and also even companies like Netflix, because people are just trying to find a way to binge watch and also sort of like forget about their problems. Companies that are in the gaming sector, those also tend to generally do well during a time of an economic downturn, because people are trying to entertain themselves. The whole entertainment space tends to do well during a recession. So those are the type of stocks to invest in, or even the type of businesses that you may. I would just also highlight and say that a recession is not all bad, it's not all doom and gloom during this time around, but just remember that it's just a corrective phase and it will pass, and just find a way in which you can also make your own investments in a small way. And so if you have made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and I would want to say do not click off on this video yet, but do make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with someone who you feel like they may want to know a little bit about the subject. If you want me to get in depth about the subject as well, just do let me know what type of videos you would like for me to make, and I'll make sure to make one. I'll see you in the next video, and do take care. Bye. See ya.